Holly, coming at you live in Pierce, South Dakota. Got a little bit of spring training going on today for celebration of hoping to get a little bit of baseball started here in town, celebrating our teams and teams across America. We have a local team here that's an exhibition league. So I'm a big baseball fan, so we're going to do a little bit of baseball themed quilting today. I'm going to start off by showing a quilt I made a few years ago for a friend of mine whose husband is a big Yankees fan. So this has got a lot of the Hall of Famers on it. Just something fun that we did, came up together, and it turned out pretty cute. So it's going to apply to a little bit of what we're doing today on the Statler using CreativeStudio 7. So this is our Yankee quilt, and my grandfather was a big Yankees fan, so big shout out to my grandfather. Thinking of you today, Gramps. So let's get started. Today we're going to talk about importing an image in CreativeStudio. There's a few different ways that you can do it, but this is the way that I find it easiest. We have a little celebrity here today with us. This is our little mascot. This is Isabel. Say hi, Isabel. Say hey. She's not too funny. She's not too sure about this. She's ready to go take a nap. It's been a busy day. So, all right. So we're going to start by importing an image into your laptop, and then through that we will import it into your stitcher, and then you can do some different fun things with it. So normally what I would do is I would take a picture of any fabric I might choose to use. So my fabric is, can you come over here, go zoom here, is baseball fabric. So you can take a picture of that with your camera, your phone, however you choose to use your picture device, and then you can send it to your email. At that point, what I do is you can go to your computer. Sorry, everything kind of quieted down here. Now I know a lot of you do know how to do this because you're very techy, but we do have some people that don't have those skills yet. So this is, I'm pulling this up from my email, and you can see it's the same picture. Oh, shoot. So I would go to my file, I'd saved it, and I saved it into my certain file for training. You can put them anywhere that you find that works for you. I have a lot of different files. Oh. Of course, now I can't find it. We have poor internet here, so sometimes it's, I don't know. So you would take that photo and you would put your thumb drive in. There we go. Your thumb drive pops up. Click on the correct file. You would take that, right click on that and tell it to copy, and then you would paste it to your correct file on your flash drive. So once you have that, you're ready to go. So now we'll go over to the Statler, and we will just load that into our Statler, and you will go to the file icon up here in the upper left and see where it says import image. You would click on that, and then you would go to your thumb drive, which is the E, and then go to the correct file. So there's my baseball fabric. And then I would open that, and there it goes. It pops right onto the screen. So now that I've got my picture, and it could be a picture of anything. It could be a picture of your quilt that you want to audition patterns on. It could be fabric. It could be something you want to digitize. So this is where you can get creative on using the tools in CreativeStudio 7. So what I've done right now is I've taken this image and I would right click on it because I want it to be a little less dark. I want it to be opaque so I can play with it a little bit more and not be distracted. So I will go to Image Attributes, click on that, and up here in this pop-up I would change the opacity and I just make it to whatever your vision is that you need. You can see you can play with that. You can change the colors and the filtering. So depending on what you're going to do with it, that's how you would determine how you would change that. So I just need it a little bit thinner so I can see what I'm doing. So that's okay. So there we've got that now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw a boundary, and I'm going to trace out one of the items that I want to applique or do something with. So I would pick something. What I did earlier is I picked a bat, and you can just click around it. So as you're making all these click marks, it will let you know if you clicked them in the same spot. And you can zoom in really tight and get around there. You can click a zillion times really, really, really close. And you can see I'm not on the mark because that's just me. Alright, I'll scroll out. I'll go down a little bit more, do a few more. And you can be really precise in this, or you can just kind of wing it a little bit. Or you just do a tiny, tiny, tiny bit and go around. There you go. And then you can, there you go. What you want to do is, sorry, my screen is too large. We want to exit the drawing, and now we have this piece right here, which is a very shaky looking bat. So that is my boundary at the moment. So now what I can do is I can right click on that boundary, and I will go to convert, and then here, and then I'm going to convert that boundary to a pattern. So there's your pattern, and now this item right here is your pattern. And now at this point you can do anything you want with it. You can go into your nodes like we all have, and you can reshape it and straighten it out a little bit, go back in, fix it up where your lines were a little bit crooked. So that's why sometimes you don't have to be so precise. You can do that on the tail end if you prefer. So we've got that, and now at this point we can again right click on it and we can save our pattern. And this will pop up and you can name the pattern anything you want. So this to me would be a baseball bat. And I'm just going to put from fabric, so I know that I've actually taken this from the fabric. You can tag it, and you can use your designer notes, anything else that you want to on your save pattern that's going to make it easier for you to find. Then you would save and close it. And then if you go to the pattern section, you can look, you can search it. So if I type in baseball bat, and I've got one here that says baseball bat from Holly. That's the one that I did earlier as a trial, but here's the one that I just labeled fabric. So now we've got this as a pattern. We can do anything we want with it. Okay, so we've got that. So now we're going to put it down on our quilt. So this is the one that I did previous. I just had a piece of felt down and I drew a boundary around it, and then we put the pattern in there. We plopped the pattern in there. So I'm going to do one a little bit different size so you can kind of see what you're doing. So again, if I wanted to have another one, I could set it there. Maybe I just want it to be a different size. This is where you would mark your boundaries again. So here we've got that down. We need to draw our boundary of where we want to put that pattern. So again, the window pops up. So we're going to select where I want. You might have a quilt block or something that you're trying to put it into. So you would just select where you're wanting it to go. And then I'm going to close my drawing and then exit the drawing. At that point, we can take this pattern and we can slip that right in there. And then again, you would adjust it to what size you want it to be. Maybe I want to flip it so it gives a different angle. So now this one, I've got it set in there to be on the opposite side. So from there, we can just, again, size it a little bit more. Maybe we need it a little bit bigger. And you can use your rotate to get it right in there. And then we can start quilting. So it's going to go to the start of the pattern. I'm going to pull up our thread. Of course. So it's going to do the stitching that we just threw out. And this is my design that I took from the fabric. Tie it off again, pull up our thread, snip, and then you would cut it away. Now I'm using just a regular old wool felt. You can use batting, you can use minky, there's all kinds of different things that you can use if you're trying to accomplish a certain look. So I'm just cutting that away for now. I would go back and trim it up a little bit neater then. So there we go. So that's that one. So to just reiterate, we'll do the base ball. So we're just going to take a piece of the ball, colored fabric, and we can again go back to our design here, and we want to, we're going to hit continue because we finished stitching that part. So now we want to draw a boundary again. So we can zoom in here, and if you look at your 6 buttons down here, these are the options that do correspond with your keypad. So we are in the drawing mode of our boundary, and you can go to the other drawing tools of drawing draw line, draw arc, draw pattern, draw freehand, but I'm just using a boundary and using clicking. So I'm just going to click around this ball. Maybe I'll be a little bit neater this time, maybe not. So again, you can make as many clicks as you want to be as perfect. So I'm going to close my drawing because I'm done with that ball. But if I want to do 2, we did 1 on the other one, you're still in the drawing mode. So I can click around another object. And then I'm going to close my drawing, and now I'm going to exit the drawing feature. So you can see that I've got 2 now. They are separate, so you would have to either combine them all or you can do them separate, whichever you prefer. Everybody has their own way of doing things. You can see it's kind of messed up. So I am going to click on that one. I'm going to right click and again convert pattern to boundary. Excuse me, boundary to pattern. So I'm going to take this pattern here, pull it off my screen, and again I can go into nodes and adjust anything that I've got out of place. Kind of play and manipulate. So it's not the best, but it will work for what we're doing. So then we'll go back to putting the ball down here, and you can see by the screen the crosshairs. Get over here. I'm working in two different parts of the computer, so when I zoom in. Okay, so now we want to draw a boundary of where we're putting that ball. So you can see the crosshairs where it is on the machine. Zoom in a little bit more, you can see exactly, that's the one that we have. That's our boundary there. That was the bigger square. So I just want this ball to fit like right in here. So I'm just going to click here. So it would be select. This is where I want it to fit in. And I'm going to close the drawing again and exit out of that drawing. So that now, I'm going to take this pattern and I'm going to drop that right into that area there that I selected. Scroll in so I can see it. Make sure you're on the right one. And then I can shrink that a little bit. There we go. So now that one is ready to quilt. And we'll quilt that one out. Pull up our bobbin. And it's just going to stitch that circle. Sorry, the dog's falling asleep. I must be pretty boring. Get a picture of her. She doesn't think I'm very exciting. Alright, so we would just take that and we would cut that. And then we would trim that up. So again, the purpose of what I'm doing today is just importing an image and then doing some applique from that image. Now that I have these as patterns, I can make a pattern to quilt that would be in conjunction with these drawings. So if you have a certain style of a bug or a butterfly, anything, you can import the image of the fabric that you have, and it then can become your quilting design as well. Because I could go back, I can combine these patterns and quilt the bat and the ball all over my quilt top. Another good feature of using import image, as I mentioned earlier, was is if you import an image of a quilt top that you have that you need to quilt, if you open that up, the image pops in. And again, you can click on the pattern, right click, and change the visual of it to make it a little lower in density, and it lightens up. So now you can see this one has already been quilted. But now at this point, you can go in, if you would like, to draw the boundary. Let's try this. On the crosshairs. Oh, sorry. We're over here on the screen. I get confused. So if you zoom in here when you draw your boundary, you could go in and then try out some patterns. So if you take that pattern, you can drop it right up there on the screen and see how that would quilt out on that. Obviously that is not the right pattern to go across there, but we could play and we could find something maybe that we can Control Z, it will take it out. So we can go back into searching patterns and maybe find a flower that would pop up that you might think would be pretty in that. So if you click on that, drop that over to the screen, give you a chance to see how that's going to look on top of that quilt. You can stretch it out and play with it. Now this is not going to be to size of the actual quilt, it's just giving you an idea of how it would look on top if you need to show it to a customer. So that's how that pattern would look on top of that quilt. If you wanted to try out different patterns in each spot, you could draw the boundary and drop in a bunch of different patterns overall. So that's what we're working with today, was importing image. Were there any questions, Sydney?
Someone named Nancy Gardner asked if you could write the directions so they can have them.
Yes, I sure can. I'm sorry. I will certainly try to show that. There is, if you go to the import image, in the help file, there's a video as well. If you go to help, sorry, I don't have internet here at the shop right now, so I cannot go to that, but there is a lot of videos in the help file. But yes, we can certainly try and get you some instructions on this. There's a lot of different fun ways to use it, so it's depending on how your mind works. This also can be used on the Elevate, because again, you're using CreativeStudio, and once you save it, your patterns that you're designing from your fabric, you would save them, and then you can sync them to your Elevate as well. So there's a lot of different ways that you could use it. It just depends on what your process is and what excites you and what you're trying to achieve. Anything else? All right. Well, we hope you guys have a great Saturday. Don't forget to stop by the virtual quilt show. Vendors are going to be open until 4 today. And enjoy your spring training, and hopefully you'll get some Major League Quilting in your world. Again, Holly by Golly, live in Pierre, South Dakota. Thanks for stopping. Have a good day.
Wait, someone said, how do you change it to a quilt, or how do you change it to a pattern to quilt?
Okay, we'll go back to that. Let's see if we can find that. See, I even was playing with our Quilting with Confidence. So we'll play with this one. I'm going to make this one a little bit lighter. Again, we're going to go to Image Attributes. We're going to make that a little bit darker, so we can see what we're tracing. So you would do Draw Boundary, and you would do all the clicking around, and you could use Draw Arc, you can do Draw Line, whichever drawing tool you choose to use. And I'm just randomly clicking around there. That is one rocky road, that's for sure. I feel sorry for Dwayne trying to drive that road. Okay, so we've got that there. We need to close our drawing, and then we need to exit the drawing. So you have this blue portion right here, and that is a boundary. So when you click on that, right click, and your menu bar pops up, and you would go down to Convert, and you want to convert that boundary to a pattern. And there is your pattern. When you click on that, you can move it away, and at that point you can do whatever you want with it. With your nodes, you can go in and manipulate it and change it. If you want to use that, you can also convert that same pattern to a trim. If you want that section not to be quilted, you would use your trim. You can change it to an outline. You can change it to a curve. So there's a lot of different things. It just depends on what your process is of what you're trying to achieve. That looks a little snake-like, so we would have to fix that up before Dwayne could drive on it. So I hope that answered your question. Anything else? Okay. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave comments, and I'll look at them afterwards and respond. So happy quilting, and go get them. Play ball.